Hello, writers and readers, and wait a minute, what's wrong with my voice? Oh, that's probably because I stopped using AI to edit my podcast. Welcome to the bonus episode of February 2025, and yeah, let's rip off the band-aid and get the elephant out of the room. Or I guess address the elephant in the room. When I started this podcast, I thought I had to sound so professional, and I invested in a free AI program that was supposed to enhance my voice and make it sound so much more professional. And a few episodes in, I realized, first off, that's not me. Second off, it gives me like a British accent that's... I don't even know if it's considered a British accent. It's some sort of accent. So... I'm scrapping that. You're getting an authentic version of me, though with no AI. So yeah, welcome to the bonus episode. If you like the old voice, I'm sorry, but it's done for. Today's bonus episode, or I guess this month for February, we're going to be talking about my top 10 book recommendations, books I think everyone should read. So these are books that I've read. I'm not saying that they are the top 10 greatest books of all time, but in my opinion, these are 10 books that I think everyone should read. And a little bit of a disclaimer, there are more than 10 books on here. I did some series or some authors where I liked multiple of their books and couldn't pick a favorite. And then just some where I give them shout out to other books. So it's the top 10 books, but there's more than 10 books. So let's get started. So my number 10 book is The Firm by John Grisham. And this book, it would probably be higher on the list, but I haven't quite finished it yet. It's my current read, but I'm really enjoying it, and I really think it would make this list no matter what. So I'm going ahead and including it here at the end. So this is a book written in the 90s. There's a Tom Cruise movie. It's just basically about this lawyer. He gets hired for this great law firm where there's all these great benefits, great pay, great everything, and it's a thriller, and you start to realize that some stuff with this law firm isn't right, and they're kind of investigating, and the firm is also investigating him. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a really good read. I'm about 80% of the way done with it, so like I said, it would probably be higher on this list if I finished it, because I don't know, maybe the ending will suck and I won't like it. So, and before I go on, John Grisham did just release a sequel novel called The Exchange. I think it just came out this past year in 2024. My number 9 is The Wave, and this is my first nonfiction pick. This is a kind of different book. I actually heard him talk about this on a podcast, and I went and watched, if you see over on the right-hand side, the ABC primetime drama from the 80s version of this, and it's about this teacher. It's based on a true story that he was questioned. He was a history teacher, and he was questioned about Nazi Germany and how so many people just went along with Hitler and were so easily brainwashed. And so he comes up with this idea to have his kids join this club, and he starts this club called The Wave. And he says it's across the nation, and within just a couple weeks, he manages to get these kids to start acting different. They start treating people who aren't in the club differently. There's fights. They start wearing, you can see on the book cover, the things around their arms. And there's very little information given about this club, but just everybody gets so worked up and joined it and a part of it. And it really makes you think, especially right now in this current world with the current United States president, which I'm not even going to say his name. I don't like him. But just, I think it's so easy for us to look back at 1930s and 1940s Germany and think, how did people go along with it? But then this book really puts that in perspective. So this is a great read. It's a really short book, actually. You can probably read it in one sitting or two. But yeah, it's a great read. Highly recommend. My number 8 is The Greatest Love Story Ever Told by Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally. This usually is not the kind of book that I read, but I love Megan Mullally from the show Will and Grace, and Nick Offerman's really good in Parks and Rec. And they're just two of the funniest people out there, celebrity-wise. And it's such a good, not to hear the story of, oh, we fell in love at first sight and stuff, just to hear these fun antidote, whatever the word is, about their love life and their relationship. And like you can see from that picture on the right hand side, they don't take themselves seriously. It's not a love advice book. It's their story, and it's just great. It's just great. It's been quite a few years since I read it, so it's trying to remember it is kind of hard. And also, I will recommend, I did listen to this as an audiobook, and they narrate it. So yeah, give it a listen to on Audible if you have Audible, because it's just great. My number 7 pick is the Hunger Games trilogy, and this is the first one where there's multiple books, but I'm grouping them all in here. So the Hunger Games was really my first dystopian book series I ever read. I read the first book back when it first came out and when the movie was coming out. And then I ended up, last year, I reread the whole series, the main 3. But for me, I was about 12-ish when that became really popular. And for me, this was kind of my first introduction into a not perfect future. Like when you're a kid, you always see movies and books about the future of flying cars and all these great inventions, but this was the first book where it didn't show this perfect world, and it kind of got me into these dystopian novels. And there's been other ones I've read, none of them has made this list, but it's such a great kind of turning point in your life book, where you're no longer a kid and you're transitioning into these teen books. And like, again, I reread them as an adult and still love them. I'm going to give a shout out to The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. I've seen the movie of it, really like the movie, haven't gotten around to read the book. And there's another one coming out as I'm recording this next month, which I'll probably watch the movie of that. And don't know, I'm sure I'll probably get both those books read at some point, but right now they're really not on my radar. Number 6, and this is kind of a strange one, is called Audition, and it's Barbara Walters' memoir. Now, this is kind of, like I said, this is kind of a strange pick for me, but this is a book I really thoroughly enjoyed. And because this is what I do, I'm recording podcasts. I want to get into interviewing other authors and just interviewing people. And I love watching old Barbara Walters interviews. And I know a lot of people think she's kind of controversial because she really deep dive with questions and stuff. But she gives some great advice in this book, and it's great seeing somebody who kind of built themselves from the ground up to become a great legend and is known for these books, or not books, these interviews. So it's just great hearing her words. I'll also give a shout out to The Rule Breaker. This was written by Susan Page. It just came out last year. It's a biography of her. I read it too, really enjoyed it, but I don't think it could be better than the memoir written by the author herself, or by the woman herself. Number 5 is A Night to Remember by Walter Lord. This is a book about the Titanic. If you know anything about me, you know my favorite movie is Titanic, and I've been obsessed with the Titanic since, I think, 2nd grade, when I was 8. So, of course, this book made it. It's such a great, it's not like if you've seen the movie Titanic, you know it follows Jack and Rose. This follows groups of people, not just 2 people, but tons of different people throughout the whole night. And yeah, it takes place mostly during the sinking and not during like the sailing and all the build up to the sinking. Like the entire book, most of it takes place during the actual sinking. And it's very true and very authentic. There's a movie of it too, which I highly recommend if you're into the Titanic. But yeah, it's a great book for Titanic lovers. I can't really pitch it if you don't like the Titanic. So if you like the Titanic, give this definitely a read. Number 4, I'm going to go over this one very quickly. The Harry Potter series. I read these all when I was younger. I reread them a few years ago. I don't want to give them much attention because the author is kind of controversial, and that's why I didn't even put her name. You can kind of see it in the picture, but I'm not giving her any media attention. But I couldn't make this list without them because they were big books in my life. Like, I remember they were kind of the first chapter books I read, and they are really good. It's just a shame that the author can't be a better person. But I want to give a shout out to these. If you read them, you're probably in the same book as me, or same boat as me. You like them, but give them a read. But don't give them a read. But go to the library and check them out. Do not pay for the audiobooks. Do not pay for the books and give the money to the author. Go get you a free copy. That's my advice for Harry Potter. Number 3, this one is kind of different because I don't have a top pick. So, Freida McFadden books. And so I've read 3 Freida McFadden books: The Teacher, The Coworker, and Brain Damage. Loved all 3 of them. I think I read The Teacher and The Coworker both in one weekend because I was just so hooked. She's a great thriller writer. She always has great twists. I loved all 3 of these books, but I can't pick between The Teacher and The Coworker. I cannot pick which one I like more. The Teacher was the first book I read of her, so it kind of has that sweet spot of being that first book I read, but The Coworker really had me on the edge of my seat, and the twist in that was really good. So I highly recommend. Freida McFadden, I'm going to read way more of her books. There's actually a book that was just released last month called The Crash by her, which I am looking forward to reading. It's on my to be read list. After I finish The Firm, it's probably my next book. My number 2 pick is Flowers in the Attic. Now, if you lost my last month bonus episode, you know that I planned on doing a whole video just related to how this book series changed my life, but maybe that'll come in the future. But I just decided I wanted to do a top 10 list instead for right now. So if you've never read or heard of Flowers in the Attic, it is gothic horror perfection. So Flowers in the Attic is about these 4 siblings who are locked in their wealthy grandparents' mansion's attic. Why their mom tries to win back her father's love after she's been written out of his will. I'm not going to give too much away, but there's a lot that goes on, and they're up there for like 3 years, and as time goes, their mom stops visiting them so much, and it's such a great story. It's one of those, they made a Lifetime movie, I think in 2014, and I watched that with my mom because my mom read Flowers in the Attic when it came out back in the 80s. It came out in the late 70s, she read it in the 80s. And I was immediately in love with it, and I read all the books, and they're just so good again, because like Flowers in the Attic follows them in the attic. And what I like about V.C. Andrews is when she writes a series, it's not one book after the other. There's time jumps. So the next book is Petals in the Wind, and it takes place almost 10 years later, I think. And you see how the family's grown up, or how they've changed, and what their life's been like after this attic. And then If There Be Thorns is actually from the main character, Kathy. This is her son now, telling the story. And then Seeds of Yesterday is back to Kathy, but it's her kids grown up. And then Garden of Shadows is actually a prequel told about the grandmother from the first book. So you see Kathy's life from the time she's 12, and I just gave away my number 1 pick because I hit the space bar. But you see you see Kathy's life from the time she is 12 up until her death in Seeds of Yesterday, which I'm just, spoiler warning, she does die at the end. But you see her whole life. I really like that in the book series. So let's get on to my number 1 pick, which, if you see my last month bonus episode, you know what it was. And if not, you got a little glimpse of it about 5 seconds ago when I accidentally hit the space bar. It is Red, White, and Royal Blue. You can watch my whole deep dive into this episode, or into this book. It is a great, great book. It helped me come to terms with my sexuality. Casey McQuiston, I believe is their name. They go by they, them pronouns. They are such a great writer of romance. It's just, watch my whole video on it. If you're looking for a great romance book to read, definitely pick this one up, or watch the movie on Prime Video. I could not recommend it more. So those are my top 10 books. Let me know if you've read any of them, or if you have any recommendations for me from my list. If you have any topic ideas you want me to think of or want me to discuss in these bonus episodes, please leave them in the comments. I am on TikTok now. The Let's Write a Novel podcast is on TikTok. You can find that in my link tree. I'm on Blue Sky as well. hit me up, give me topic ideas, give me questions, whatever you want to talk about. I am open. I love my fans, so I want to hear from you. So let me know what you think of the list, and make sure to keep writing and never give up on that book you're writing. Thanks.